Hey everyone, I'm Liz Fairy and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this crochet top hat. I recently showed you how to make a summer hat. You can find the link to that video in the description. I'll use a similar technique to make this hat. Some things you'll need for this tutorial are a crochet hook, I'm using a size H, a pair of scissors, some stitch markers, I'm using these bobby pins, a yarn needle, and you'll need yarn. I'm going to use two different shades of the same color yarn because this gives the hat a more tweed-like look. So I'll use black from Red Heart Super Saver and black from Caron Simply Soft. If you prefer though, you can use a bulky weight yarn instead. If you like, you can use some ribbon and some elastic to make a band or a bow to go around the hat, and use a regular needle and thread to sew it together. If you're making a hat with a wider brim, you could use some plastic millinery wire to stiffen the outer edge of the brim. I won't be doing that for this hat, but I did when I was making my summer hat, so if you want to see this technique, check out that tutorial. You can find a written pattern for this project in my Ravelry store. You can find the link to that in the description below. Using my two black yarns at the same time, I'll begin the project by making a double magic circle with 8 stitches of double crochet. I realize it's a little tough to see the stitches since I'm using black yarn on a white background, but I'm going to try my best, and where I really need to, I can just show you what I'm doing using the summer hat since the technique is mostly the same. Now for the rest of the project, I'm going to work all the stitches around the front post of the stitch instead of the top of the stitch like normal. So I'll work each stitch here around the front post of the stitch, and just to be sure that you can see what I mean, here's the front post of the summer hat. Working on the posts helps to create a more structured stitch so that the hat will hold its shape better. Also in the next row, I'm going to begin to increase, to widen the top of the hat. I'm going to increase each row 8 times, and I'll go on increasing 8 per row for 8 rows. In row 1, since there are 8 stitches, I'll increase every stitch of the row. So since I'm making double crochets, I'll yarn over and pull up a loop around the front post of the first stitch of my magic circle. Then double crochet. And mark that stitch with my bobby pin. Then double crochet again around the same post to increase the first stitch. And then I'll repeat the same thing for the next stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop around the post of the next stitch, and double crochet. Then double crochet again around the same post to increase that stitch. And I'll continue to repeat the same thing around the entire row, increasing around the post of each stitch. At the end of the row, I should have 16 stitches total in the row. In the next row, I'll continue to increase 8 times per row. This time, since I have a total of 16 stitches, I'll increase every second stitch. So I'll double crochet around the post of the first stitch of the row, mark the first stitch with my bobby pin, then increase the second stitch by double crocheting twice into the same post. Repeat that again, double crochet 1 onto the post of the next stitch, Then increase the second stitch by double crocheting twice onto the same post. And continue that pattern across the whole row. Double crochet 1, then increase the next stitch with 2 double crochets worked onto the same post, and repeat until the end of the row. At the end of this row, I have 24 stitches total. In the next row, I'll increase 8 times, every third stitch of the row this time, since there are 24 stitches total in the row. So I'll double crochet onto the first 2 stitches, then increase the third by double crocheting twice onto the same post. And repeat across the whole row with 32 stitches total in the row at the end. In the next row, I'll increase every 4th stitch, then every 5th stitch in the row after that, then in the next row every 6th stitch, and so on, until the top of the hat reaches the width I want at the top. I went on until I was increasing every 8th stitch, and I had a total of 72 stitches in the row, so that the top of the hat is a couple of rows bigger than the size I want the hat to fit. If you like, you could just stop increasing when the top matches the head circumference that you're trying to fit, but I want to make mine with a slightly oversized top that tapers down to the right size at the bottom, so I increased to every 8th stitch. I've gotten to the end of 8 rows of increase. Next, I need to add rows of decrease to lengthen the hat. If you want, you can double crochet without decreasing here to make a hat with very straight sides, particularly if you don't want to make an oversized tapered version. But to get that tapered look, I like to create 2 decreases per row. Also, since I want my hat to have a flat top, I'll work the first row of decreases into the back posts of the stitches instead of into the front posts to create a ridge at the top of the hat. To work onto the back posts, I'll pull up a loop here on the back side around the post of the stitch. And just to make sure that you know what I mean, here's the back post of the summer hat. So yarn over, pull up a loop around the post from behind, and then double crochet around the post. Then into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop around the post from the back, and double crochet. Then I'm going to decrease. To do that, I'll yarn over, pull up a loop around the post of the stitch, and pull another loop through 2 of the loops on my hook, as though making a normal double crochet, but instead of finishing the stitch, I'm going to leave it open on the hook. Then into the next stitch, I'll once again yarn over and pull up another loop into the back post of the next stitch, and pull another loop through 2 of the loops on my hook, as though making a normal double crochet. Then finish the decrease by pulling a loop through the remaining 3 loops on my hook. And then I'll just continue to add double crochets until I get to the other side of the work, where I'll decrease 1 more time. Then once I'm finished with my second decrease, I'll continue to work double crochets into the remaining back posts of the row. Okay, now I've finished with 1 row of 2 decreases into the back posts. Now repeat the same thing for 7 more rows, working into the front posts again for the rest of the project. So just like before, double crochet around the posts from the front this time, and eventually I'll create another 2 decreases in the row, making sure to offset where I place the decreases in each row so that they don't end up too close together. I'll continue to double crochet with 2 decreases per row for 7 rows, or until the hat fits the circumference of the head that I'm making it to fit. Now I've gotten to the end of my rows of double crochet with 2 decreases. Now the hat is the right size, but I want to make it a little taller. So I'm just going to create 4 more rows of double crochet into the front posts to finish lengthening the top of the hat. Next, I'll create the brim of the hat. To do this, I'll simply continue to increase 8 times per row for 5 rows. To find the number to increase by, I need to count the number of stitches that I have left in the row and divide that by the amount of increases, which is 8. Since I have 56 stitches in the row, and 56 divided by 8 is 7, I'll increase every 7th stitch in the next row. Then I'll continue to increase by the next number until the brim is wide enough. In this row, I'll increase every 7th stitch with 64 stitches in the row at the end. In the next row, I'll increase every 8th stitch, then every 9th stitch in the row after that, all the way until I've increased every 11th stitch of the row. In the end, I should have 96 stitches total in the row. Next, to finish the hat, I'll slip stitch to the first stitch of the row to end the work, cut off the end, and sew it in. If you like, you could end the work here, or you could add a ribbon to the base of your hat. I used a 1.5 inch ribbon that I measured while I had the hat on. It's important to make sure that you check the fit of the ribbon while the hat is on, because the hat will stretch a bit, and you want to make sure that it isn't too small. Then I sewed a small piece of elastic to each side to enable the ribbon to stretch. The elastic I had was a little too narrow for the ribbon, so I just folded and top stitched down the corners to fit the ribbon to the elastic. That part is going on the back anyway, but if you want to make it easier on yourself, just use elastic that matches the ribbon's width. If you like, you could use the ribbon to make a bow. I just couldn't come up with a bow design that I liked that I felt really went with this hat, so I decided to just go with the ribbon on its own. If I decide to add a bow later, it'll be easy enough to add one. I did make a bow when I made my sun hat, so if you do want to make a bow, make sure that you check out that tutorial. And now my top hat is finished. I ended up making another ribbon for the hat using this dark navy ribbon, and I can switch out the purple or the blue ribbon whenever I want. I'm glad I was able to finish this one in time for the coming Halloween season. It has plenty of costume possibilities, and I'm really excited to pair this top hat with my skull mask. Side note, if you're interested in this project, I'll link the tutorial below. What sort of costume would you use this project for? Let me know in the comments, and as always, if you made a project using this or any of my designs, I'd love to see it. You can find my social media links in the description below, or tag me on Instagram at LizFairy. If you liked this video, you could press the like button or share it on social media, and if you'd really like to help out the channel, you can donate to my Patreon. You can get some cool perks from Patreon, like seeing my videos early and ad-free. You can find out more about that at patreon.com/fairyrings. What are some other hat ideas you think I should try? Leave your suggestions in the comments, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to get notifications every time I post. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!